What is good, YouTube? It is your boy Horsey, back with another NBA style video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over free agency moves and off-season trades that I think are going to be done this year and should be done this year if some of these franchises want to not only just go further, but even make or win a championship. If you guys agree with some of these, go down in the comments, let me know. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get straight into it. The first move that I think needs to happen in this year's offseason is, quite frankly, Giannis moving away from the Bucks and him and them parting ways. As you can tell in the thumbnail, I think there is a few options for teams that Giannis can go to, such as the Raptors, the Heat, or even the Golden State Warriors. All of those teams being able to provide a trade package that would work, with the Warriors obviously having the number 2 pick and something along the lines of having to give up Draymond and Andrew Wiggins, or the Raptors with having pieces like Fred VanVleet, Norman Powell, OG Anunoby, a lot of young talent. They could make a trade as well. The Miami Heat too, with Tyler Hero, etc. They have young pieces as well. But the Bucks too, if they wanted to, they could also build around a piece. Because in my personal opinion, the Bucks are never going to get... The Bucks can only go as far as Giannis can take them. So if Giannis struggles and, is out with injury like he was this past offseason, or they run into the Raptors like how they did last year, who just have that ability to shut down Giannis on the court, the Bucks are completely hooped. The Bucks, as much as Chris Middleton is good, and I know he was an all-star this year, Chris Middleton isn't exactly a second option type player. He's more of a third option, which is why I think if the Bucks move on from Giannis and go into sort of that rebuild mode, they can just refresh and build it back and build it better. Because with this current roster, I not only don't think that they can make a trade to acquire a bigger name player, I don't think that they're going to be winning much. If Giannis, unless Giannis can average 30, 15, and 10, I don't really see the Bucks having that ability and moving on far in the playoffs. But that's just me, but let me know what you guys think about that one. The second free agency / trade move I would want to see is either the Houston Rockets moving on from James Harden or Russell Westbrook. I mean, they tried the experiment last year and it did not go to plan, obviously with their second round elimination against the eventual championship Lakers. But I think they got to split up the duo. And personally, I think they should keep Harden and they should move on from Westbrook. They can probably find a trade with Westbrook with the team and a player that I'm going to mention later in this video. But it's just spacing wise, it's just not working. Westbrook, with his inability to shoot and them not even running the offense through him, with their play style, he just doesn't fit. It's just better if they keep Harden. Harden, he's younger, he's better, he's MVP caliber for the last few years, winning an MVP in the last 3. And really, they can still go with another championship with Harden, where I feel like if they trade Harden and they have Westbrook be the main centerpiece like OKC, they can't really improve that much unless they're planning to go into a rebuild type thing, which I think they shouldn't do, because I think Mike D'Antoni has a good system for Harden. Harden fits well. He's the best scorer in the last couple of years, one of the best scorers of all time. And they can definitely still contend with him at the helm. Where with Westbrook, on the other hand, we've seen it before where teams have thought it's better to build around Westbrook, and just like with the Thunder, whether it's KD and Westbrook or when it was Westbrook and Paul George, it just doesn't work and he just doesn't fit. And really, with Westbrook, there's not a specific destination he can go to. I'd say he could really go to any team where you could get a good enough package for him. I'd try to look for a good shooting guard, maybe a good spot up guard that has that good catch and shoot ability, because obviously the Rockets already have players like PJ Tucker and Eric Gordon, but those guys do make quite a lot of money and they are quite a bit overpaid. So if you could try to find a deal to get those guys off the books as well, they could not only just get rid of Westbrook and add to their team, they could also target somebody in free agency, which I think would only help even more. Would like to introduce the idea of either the Sixers getting rid of Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid, with a very similar case to the Rockets, where I just feel like they're not going to grow and they're not going to improve with same cases before. Ben Simmons' inability to shoot. I mean, his stats haven't even improved that much from his rookie year. And every year people are saying, oh, this is their year, they're going to contend, this is our year. But it's just not meant to happen, because the Sixers are just not, they don't fit, they don't mesh, they have high contracts, and they're gonna have to pay Simmons, with also having Al Horford and Tobias Harris also on the books. They are way overpaying for this starting lineup to not even make it to the second round. They got swept in the first round this year, and I know Ben Simmons was hurt, but I guarantee you, even with Ben Simmons, they still would have lost in 5 to 6 games. So again, this is one of those cases where I just think you got to make a decision, just like with the Harden and Westbrook. Who is more valuable? Who can you build around? Personally, I think Joel Embiid is the best center in the NBA, so I think there's no moving on from him, and you need to keep him around and move on from Ben Simmons. And then again, in the same case, you just, because with Ben Simmons only being really a post-up kind of back-down type point guard and having strong defensive capabilities, you can find a good 3-and-D player for Ben Simmons, or really just a really good trade package for Ben Simmons, I think you could make it work. And there's a lot of teams that I'm willing to bet would pay a hefty price to have Ben Simmons, just because they have teams that have that shooting ability and stuff like that, but don't have that main player to facilitate around. I think a good spot for Ben Simmons would be either the San Antonio Spurs or the Orlando Magic, where both those teams are more defensive-sided teams that don't rely on the three ball, with Greg Popovich's classic defensive system that was run with Kawhi, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker. I think he could fit well into there. And then with the Orlando Magic, they don't really have a star point guard or a star facilitator. So I think the Orlando Magic is another team that could really make a push to the playoffs. And same with the Spurs. They could make a push to the playoffs. Obviously, they won't go that far in the playoffs because obviously the spacing issue with Ben Simmons, DeMar DeRozan both not being the best three-point shooters. But both of those teams could definitely make those playoffs, especially the Magic too, being in the East, which is typically weaker than the West. So I think the Orlando Magic would be the preferred spot where I would send Ben Simmons to try to get a trade package for him. But then the issue would be is what is Ben Simmons' value that you would have to receive from the Magic in order to have the trade not seem like it's very heavily one-sided. And I think a package surrounded around Jonathan Isaac would be that for the Sixers. A nice defensive wing that can shoot. He can play extremely good defense. And that's pretty much what Ben Simmons is, minus the fact that he can shoot. And yeah. And the fourth and final move that I think should happen in this year's free agency period is either Chris Paul or Derrick Rose to the LA Lakers. Now, this year the Lakers did have LeBron at point guard, so saying that they didn't have a good point guard is a blatant lie. But I think personally, LeBron did play well this year, but if they get a main facilitating point guard like a Derrick Rose or a Chris Paul, which Chris Paul had a very good season with the Thunder, I think they can make it work. A trade deal surrounding Kuzma and the rest of the Lakers pieces, I think the Lakers could put it together and not just win one more, but potentially 2 more championships and maybe even three-peat with a team of a big three of LeBron, Chris Paul, and Anthony Davis. I think with Chris Paul and LeBron's floor general and playmaking ability, and Anthony Davis's high scoring, high defense, good rebounding, I think they could make it work. And then the Lakers still have many pieces around, like Dwight Howard still, JaVale McGee. There's a lot of opportunities for this team to fit and mend and weld together. And then with the Clippers seemingly undecided on whether they want to blow it up or keep it going, the Warriors being injured, the Rockets I'm feeling moving on from Westbrook, so not really sure how good that team is going to be. I think the Lakers have a really good shot at going all the way once again. And if you like it and you agree, comment down below, tell me your thoughts. But that's it for this video. It's been your boy Horsey. We outta.